A thought-provoking story is told in one of Master Man Ho Kwok's books on Feng Shui. Several centuries ago in China, there lived a renowned Feng Shui master. One day, while traveling through mountains and rivers in search of remarkable landscapes, he ran out of both food and water. Deep in a remote wilderness under the scorching summer sun, he could not find a single spring to quench his thirst. In desperation, he eventually came upon a small farm where a widowed woman and her 3 sons were working the land. Overjoyed, he hurried over and asked for a drink of water. The widow gladly fetched him a full bowl of water. However, just before handing it to him, she placed a handful of dry leaves into the bowl. The Feng Shui master was astonished. He became furious, believing the woman was deliberately insulting him. Yet, overwhelmed by thirst, he suppressed his anger. As he drank, he had to keep brushing the leaves aside with his hand before taking another sip. It was quite inconvenient, and deep inside he resolved to take revenge on the rude woman. He then introduced himself, explaining that he was a famous Feng Shui expert serving the imperial court. He told her about an old abandoned house with a large piece of land on the other side of the mountain and advised her to move there, saying it would provide a much better life. The widow repeatedly thanked him. After giving his advice, he quickly departed, secretly pleased that he had finally taken his revenge. The abandoned property he had recommended was actually a death site, afflicted by the dreaded 5 ghosts conflict formation, an extremely inauspicious location where, according to Feng Shui, anyone who lived there would die prematurely. A long time later, the master happened to pass through the same region again. To his astonishment, he found that the once impoverished widow had become wealthy. She now lived in a spacious, beautiful home with abundant land. The widow warmly welcomed him, deeply grateful that he had directed her to such a wonderful place. Ever since moving there, her harvests had been plentiful, her family had prospered financially, and her children had received excellent educations. 2 of her 3 sons had become government officials, while the youngest had grown into an exceptionally gifted scholar and respected teacher. The master discreetly examined the house and the surrounding land. Although the property had become much more prosperous, the site itself still possessed the same 5 ghosts conflict Feng Shui formation. He was utterly bewildered. Could his own expertise have been wrong? Unable to find an explanation, he finally confessed that he had intentionally tried to harm her because years earlier she had insulted him by putting leaves into his bowl of water before handing it to him. The widow smiled and explained.
That day was extremely hot, and you were suffering from severe thirst. When people in that condition suddenly find water, they often drink it too quickly, which can shock the body and even endanger their lives. I placed the dry leaves in the bowl so you would have to drink slowly, removing the leaves little by little, allowing your body to adjust safely.
At that moment, the Feng Shui master finally understood just how thoughtful and compassionate she had been. Her simple act of kindness had actually saved his life. The blessings created by that wholesome deed were so great that they completely neutralized the harmful influence of the so-called death site. The opposite is equally true. Many people carefully seek out famous Feng Shui masters and arrange their homes according to every favorable principle. Yet if their hearts are filled with greed, cruelty, and unwholesome actions, good Feng Shui cannot truly protect them. Misfortune may still descend upon them unexpectedly. From this, we should understand that the true foundation of Feng Shui is the law of cause and effect. When one's karma is wholesome and one's virtues are abundant, karmic causes naturally attract favorable conditions, including a place with good Feng Shui. As illustrated in the story above, even if the land itself appears extremely inauspicious, a person with great virtue may still enjoy blessings, prosperity, and peace. Conversely, those burdened by heavy negative karma are naturally drawn, through the law of cause and effect, toward unfavorable environments, including places with poor Feng Shui. Even if they attempt to improve the Feng Shui of their homes, the force of karma may still bring hardship and misfortune. Karma is the most powerful force in the universe. Even the supernatural abilities of enlightened arhats cannot override the law of karma, let alone Feng Shui. Viewed in this way, Feng Shui functions much like a road sign. Before busy intersections, crowded marketplaces, or dangerous mountain passes, warning signs are placed to alert travelers so they can prepare accordingly. Even if someone removes or alters the sign, the intersection, marketplace, or hazardous road remains exactly as it was. Changing the sign does not change reality. One of Hong Kong's 10 most renowned Feng Shui masters, Chen Lang, left the following teaching to his disciples before his passing. Today, many people have lost their way. They use every possible means, power, influence, manipulation, or even their own knowledge, to pursue wealth. Yet they fail to understand that everything ultimately follows the law of karma, causes, and conditions. One must first plant the proper cause before one can reap the corresponding result. And those wholesome causes are planted through filial devotion to one's parents, respect for one's teachers and the way, and compassionate service to all living beings. Those engaged in business should always walk the honest and upright path. If a person possesses the causes of virtue and merit, success will naturally arrive sooner or later. One must never seek wealth through dishonest means, for doing so rapidly depletes one's blessings. A person may have the destiny to earn hundreds of billions, but by engaging in unethical conduct, that destiny may be reduced to only a few billion. They may still believe themselves highly successful, never realizing that it was precisely their wrongdoing that diminished their blessings and created karmic consequences. Nor do they know how long they will actually be able to enjoy that wealth.